What is up, guys? We're back with another Twinmotion video. Like, come on, Twinmotion 2021.1. Okay, all right. I'm really excited about this, and let me tell you why. Because lots of new updates, like actually meaningful updates here, and we're gonna start on the new features page, and then work our way through that. I will jump into Twinmotion back and forth to look at each one of these things as we get to them. But man, I am excited about this because, I mean, really, it's exciting to me. There's a lot here, a lot to look at, and some things that will be a bit game changers, like really some game changers here. I'm really excited about it. So, before we get into it, if you happen to learn something, which I hope you do, I mean, my gosh, it's a Twinmotion update. Please demolish that like button. It really helps me out a lot. Okay, looking at this now, 2021.1. It is here. It's cool. Let's just start going. The key new features here, bridge to Unreal. Now, honestly, I mean, this is a big deal because it is. Like, there's a nice plugin with Unreal that allows you to take Twinmotion projects into Unreal Engine really quickly and easily. But that's actually not new in a sense that it's been out. Like, I've done a video on it. I would check that out if you're curious. But this is just a visual of, hey, you can take this Twinmotion project and put it into Unreal. Cool. I'm not going to spend time on that because, again, I've spent time on another video showing you how to do that. But I think it's beta 2 is out. So, like, we're getting closer to a true release of this update. Now, my hope is that in the future, this will be a little bit easier to execute than it was in the video that I've done and so far in the beta, because it did require a little more than you might have hoped. We're kind of spoiled in that we're used to the one button, send to whatever program. Now, it's not quite that, unfortunately, but it might be closer to that at some point, and maybe the real release will get us closer to that, which would be my hope, because I'm not a huge Unreal user fan, but my biggest problems are dealing with getting everything there and how it works, and then actually building the scene after that is a little bit easier in my mind. So getting things there is the current challenge. So this plugin does make that easier. So maybe down the line it will help it be a little more easier. So, and then this is still looking at Unreal. We have the different options that we've pulled all this from Twinmotion, but we're actually looking at different options within Unreal Engine. So that's cool. Again, the same thing. Here's the first new feature that's kind of cool. So this is Presenter Cloud. And this is considered early access because it's not a true release. A couple of these things are still in beta, at least to the point where it's not available to every Twinmotion user. Currently, this Presenter Cloud is usable by everyone with a full license of Twinmotion, which does include myself, but most of you, I'm sure, who enjoy Twinmotion have the full version. And so the idea here is that, we know what Presenter is. It's the full screen look. You have the basic functionalities of changing the sun, the time, time of day, things like that, moving around, and it's a presenter mode. It's clearly what it's called. But the idea of the cloud is that you can send anyone in the world a link, and they can load it up without having Twinmotion and literally view your presentation and view your model, view whatever you've sent to them in Presenter. So very cool, very cool. And you can set up scenes and blah blah. It's really cool. I've done a separate video on Presenter, so check that out for sure, because this applies directly to that. Now, of course, this new Presenter Cloud will have all the updates and visual updates that we have with 2021, but the presenter itself is all the same. It's just now we have the access of sending someone a link, and they can just view it as if they had Twinmotion, but they don't need it, which is fantastic. Really good stuff. Now, this is the biggest game changer, and we've been asking for it. We knew it was coming, didn't know when, but guys, the Megascans the Megascans library. Everything in Megascans is in the Twinmotion library, and they just show one picture of some models here, but this does nothing to show the full gamut of what is involved in Megascans. So again, I've done previous videos on the Quixel Megascans library, whether it's dealing with materials, 3D models, whatnot. It's over 10,000, like 10, 20,000 models, including different textures and whatnot, that were pretty accessible. Now that Epic Games bought the Megascans library and bought Quixel. So that was all great, and we could bring it in pretty simply, saving the file out and then saving that and bringing it into Twinmotion. But now, literally all of this is in Twinmotion the exact same way every other object and asset is in Twinmotion. It just simply downloads it within Twinmotion, and you can use it right there. Obviously, it's saving it on your computer still, but there's no middleman in that Quixel was serving as that hub for all this information, and then you'd bring it into Twinmotion. Well, now Twinmotion, it's just Twinmotion, and it's accessing all of this data that Quixel has without having to deal with downloading another program, saving it off, loading it in. Nothing. One click, done. It's so game changing. So we're going to show all this in just a second because I'm really excited. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at this Megascans because it's cool. So obviously we're in Twinmotion, and after you launch it, obviously you need to download the new version. So once you do that and launch it, you're here. And you'll notice the first thing, actually, I've done nothing. The first thing is that we aren't prompted to select our form of transportation, our form of mobility, and the controls in which we're going to use to work within Twinmotion. We don't have that option yet. We do actually have that option. It's just not directly in our face all the time, which I think is really nice. So I'm very familiar with the functions of Twinmotion and how you move around and all of that information. You can see we have a new window up at the top, which is really cool. We have just the basics of movement that you'll need to know. And we're familiar with all of them, of course, but if we click on the little settings gear, we can see we have a lot more. And again, you've seen these before. You have the different navigation options, whether it's Twinmotion or any other program that you are more familiar with, which is awesome. And of course, you can turn navigation off, which we don't necessarily want to do, but you can also put that onto a touchpad or anything else. I like to keep it on just the mouse and keyboard. It's simple enough, but we can choose to hide this navigation panel if we want to, which is really good too, because if you know what you're doing and how to move, I would consider hiding it. But immediately we can see our push to cloud, which is really cool. So let's go ahead and press this and see what happens. So yeah, we get this user agreement. We'll click accept. It's going to talk to the server. And we've got the name of the project, which I have not named it. So that's what it is. We've got the date. It shows that it succeeded, which is cool. And we can open the presenter cloud. And this, again, is literally the link that you're going to simply send to people, which is cool. Look at this. So I can see this is mine. It's early access. I've done nothing else here, but look, I can share this with anyone. Just an email address is all you need. You send that out to people. That's awesome. I can click view here. And again, we're literally in the cloud. We're on the internet. Regardless of whether I have Twinmotion set up, this is what everyone else would see, whether they have Twinmotion. And this is what they get. This is the experience that they will receive, which is literally the presenter mode that we are familiar with. Obviously I have nothing in my project, but we've got the same navigation options here. We've got all the different presenter options. Like we've got the nice full screen view. I mean, really, yeah. This is everything that you might want from presenter in the cloud, because that's what it is. Now, I'm going to go over some of the other different options and UI settings that we have within 2021, but let's go ahead and look at everything else here. So Megascans, of course, let's get back to that because that's really important here. So we've looked at, again, the presenter cloud, cool stuff. So I'm going to expand everything here. We can see, oh, look at this, Quixel Megascans. This is everything that we want. So when I click on this, we have 3D assets and services. This is if you're familiar with Quixel and you've opened any of their programs, specifically the Megascans library or the bridge, anything like that, you're familiar with what's there. And that is mainly 3D assets and services. And services we know as materials. So let's click on services, and we can see this is literally everything we might want because it's everything from the library, and there's so many. And I will say that especially the 3D models aren't as applicable to architecture truly, because it was originally made for like gaming engines and bringing assets into gaming engines really quickly, and not so much for the architecture world. Now, obviously, things are changing because this is all integrated into more of an architecture program than a gaming engine right now. But if we wanted to pull any of these in, we can just look at all the woods, and there's clearly this goes on forever because it just does. And there's look at this. These are all super high quality, and these are just the wood planks. Like, come on. So you'll notice a few things here. Obviously, it's all the same, and I could simply drag it in like anything else. But what it would do is it was would actually download it. So let's say that we really like this wooden plank. So I can choose to download this here, and we get a little download, and we can see within seconds it's done. There's no longer a download option, which means it's in my library on my computer, and I can just simply drag it. I can just boom. There's there's the wood. It's going to take a second because it's pulling that information from what was just downloaded. But after that, I'm going to have the wooden material there just like I would anywhere else. And it works just the same like any other Twinmotion material at that point. So there we go. And of course, if I come in here and I zoom in, we can always change the scale. We can do anything that we're used to doing. And really good, really cool. Like this, this is so nice. I mean, how easy that was and how nice that was to pull that in. Really cool. So let's say I love this material. This is great. I can't say that I love it, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to say that I love this material. And I'm saying that because you'll notice as I hover over each one of these different materials, there's a heart, which is kind of cool. And so if I click that, I can see the heart is filled in. Cool. Now let's say we go all the way back out here and you know, we liked that essentially. We liked that particular surface, that wood surface. And so you can see there's a nice little heart up here too. And if I click on that, I can see everything in my entire library, regardless of it being within the Quixel library or anything else. I can see that it's something that I like. Now maybe I come into the city and I love this Phoenix bollard so much. Like really, oh, it's so great. It really is. It just makes my day. So I'm gonna like it. So I'm gonna hit the heart and I'm gonna go back out here and I can click the heart there and I can see there's my Phoenix bollard and my wooden planks. I love these things, obviously. But very simple, very easy way of organizing. And from really any one of these different menus, you can like any of these things that you're going to use pretty regularly. But I can get really deep down in here and I can decide, well, I want to go back to something that I like. Well, I can just click on the heart and I can see, well, I don't like anything in this concrete. So I'm going to come back out here and I could see that I actually like this wood plank, of course, but it's within the mega scan. So I can keep going out. And as I go out farther to my library itself, I could see even more things it's basically just going to show what by category that I like. And once I get out to the full library, I'll see everything that I like. So great stuff, really easy. Let's get back to this. So that was the full mega scans library, which is fantastic stuff. Like, I mean, we didn't even take a look at all the 3D assets, which I think we should, because if you haven't seen any video of related to Quixel or Megascans, look at the 3D assets. Now, again, this is mainly for a gaming engine, so it doesn't necessarily apply to what we're used to seeing in Twinmotion, like, or in Revit. Like, it's not truly architecture, but I mean, don't get me wrong, it's pretty stuff. But it's going to pull in this. It's going to do the same thing like it did with the materials. It's going to bring it in. And so, like, here's a modular wooden staircase. I don't know if I'm not sure how modular this is going to be when I pull this into Twinmotion. I would be surprised if it were, to be honest. But I think this is what it is. Like, when I click on this, yeah, I mean, that's it. There's no material. There are materials, but there's nothing modular about it. Unfortunately, I can always add another one up here and continue it on, but you get the idea. So whether it's a stair, a ceiling, a door. So, like, for example, the door is clearly this door is not something you see in a typical architecture. It's a wooden door, not of course, but it's also a bit aged. It's a older type of door, and this is something you see in a gaming engine. But you get the idea of what we have here. So the idea is that this is all set up, and as more content is added to the Quixel library or even just Twinmotion itself, they will all be populated there in such a way that we could easily bring them in. So cool. I mean, look at this. Really, I mean, the quality is pretty good. Like, that is some good looking stuff. Now, I don't want it necessarily for architecture, but it's good. It's pretty good looking. Okay. So getting back here, we've got the mega scans, which is awesome. Other features. This is really big too. And I wasn't expecting this. Like, obviously I was expecting the mega scans to show up at some point. I was not expecting it right now, but pleasantly surprised. So other features. Datasmith. So Datasmith, if you did end up watching that Unreal plugin video where I could bring Twinmotion projects into Unreal Engine, then you're familiar with Datasmith. And I can't say I'm fully, aware of what Datasmith is, but what I know of it is that it's a way of organizing and using and pulling all of your BIM data. So not just the models, because anything can import a model. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the data behind it as well. So bringing those both in. So the idea here is that we have a Datasmith direct link. So we're familiar with the direct link from Revit, which is, you click see in Twinmotion or whatever program, and you can see whatever you're looking at in Twinmotion, and it will bring in that data as well. Now, what this is going to do with Datasmith, it's literally another importer that will, fall within the Twinmotion tab, I would believe, and it will basically allow you to have multiple models of the same model. Now, I explained that horribly, but what I'm essentially saying is that you can have, and it says it right here, in future releases, you will be able to aggregate files from different sources such as Revit, Rhino, and basically maybe you have a Rhino or even a Grasshopper file that you want into your Twinmotion project. Well, this can bring all of it, whether you're using Revit, Rhino, any of these programs at the same time. You can use this Datasmith direct link to direct link all those different models from other programs into the same Twinmotion project. Now, you could always do that to a degree, but with the import function, so that import function was really only bringing in, for the most part, it was bringing in geometry, but it's not the true direct link that we're used to and like seeing. But this is what this is. And not only this, you can, given the Datasmith itself, Datasmith direct link, like it's truly a separate thing. And so we're going to look at it here. So the Twinmotion direct link plugins. So the features that we really want to know is that you can synchronize as many Revit files as you wish within the same Twinmotion project, offering new flexibility. This is game changing in that of course, I just released a pseudo design options video for Twinmotion, like having multiple models in the same Twinmotion project. Now, this literally solves that perfectly. This allows us to have multiple Revit design options within the same Twinmotion project, pulling from one Revit project like you would, where you're modeling all the design options. That is game changing. So, really. So the cool thing here again is that Datasmith is used by both Twinmotion and Unreal Engine, which enables consistent workflows. You can share the code and really share all of it. And so it kind of could work together, and you can bridge all of these if you want to. That's cool. Now, of course, we see it here, the current limitations, models and objects are not automatically submitted for Twinmotion materials and object. That's okay. We're probably going to substitute it ourselves. We're probably going to override the materials ourselves in Twinmotion because it's so easy. Now, when I come down here, you'll see there's a direct link for all of these, but there's also a Datasmith direct link. So this is, again, a completely separate direct link. And I'm going to save this specifically for another video because it's quite different. It is quite different. It's in addition to what we currently have as far as importing. And so I want to make a separate video for that. But look for that soon because it's coming. It's really relevant and important because this is going to change everything with design options in Revit. Really cool. Design options in Twinmotion are now fully possible. It's just, I haven't made a video yet. I haven't worked through it myself, but I know based on what I'm reading and how it works that it is truly possible. Cool. So Datasmith, direct link, very cool stuff. These are, I guess, less exciting features, but nonetheless pretty cool. We've got some new trees, humans, workout assets. Like these are pretty nice stuff. Like these are really nice. If you're doing any sort of fitness facility, then you'll be happy with that. Of course, new people, that's always nice to see, more variety. Lighting enhancements. This is one of those kind of undervalued new features that you won't notice immediately, but it should have a pretty big impact down the line once you really start to use things. So we've made a number of small internal changes to the default and minimum and maximum intensity of various lighting features, which includes the sun, artificial lights, whatever. We've also adjusted the auto exposure and bloom settings and made a smoother transition between day and night. That's really nice. So everything previously was a little more dramatic when you get to night, just really dramatic. And I've done a previous video on my love-hate relationship with auto exposure, whether it is Twinmotion or some other program. So this is, in a way, is bringing it more like evening the levels out a bit. And so it's not so dramatic. So whenever you have, your auto exposure on versus off, it's not so crazy different, but clearly there's a different function of having auto exposure turned on versus not. So cool. Lighting has enhancements. We will see that in the works down the line, having more impact as we start to use more lights. So this is really cool. And this is one of my bigger knocks about Twinmotion at its initial release, for 2020 at least. The the fact that they didn't have this was unfortunate, but now that they do, it's really cool. So non-realistic rendering styles, and you could see the different styles we have immediately. We've got a black and white, kind of a drawing. We've got a true just white, like everything's white. We've got kind of a yellow. It's just truly a different color with a different level of reflection. And then of course we've got the realistic, really cool. And so why is this important? Like, well, there's been a lot of times where I'm working on a project and I'm not ready to show materials. I want to show the design itself, the layout, whatever it is, but without materials, because clients especially, but even designers, they get hung up on materials and the way things look from a presentation standpoint, to the point where the design kind of falls away. Like, it, depending on the design, it's more of like, oh, why is that? Why is everything like a different color gray, this or that? Why is this a red? And basically, I didn't have time to do all the materials, or I have no idea what the materials are. And so this kind of solves things for me. I can make things really from a super schematic drawing looking standpoint. Or what I like the most is that I could literally turn everything to white. And if I turn everything to white, then I can very simply just, like, it's a given. You don't have to worry about the materials. No one's looking at the materials. They know everything's white, and they know everything won't be white when it's all said and done, which is really great, because I don't want to spend the time doing materials if I don't know what they are and blah, blah. I don't have time, period. Maybe I'm just doing the design and say, hey, look at it white. What do you think? And so other programs had that option, which I enjoyed, but Twinmotion did not until now. You'd have to literally go ahead and paint everything white, or bring everything in as one material and then paint it white. Like, it's just so easy that this is a simple override and you can just move on, which is really, really nice. So let's go ahead and look at this within Twinmotion. So here we are in Twinmotion, and if we want to look at all these different ways of presenting the model, we're going to first go to our presenter, and it's really nice. This new update, we have a new button up here, which is next to the eye, and this is simply taking us to presenter really quickly. And like, look at that, really easy to do that. And now we can click that to take us out of presenter, but we want to be in presenter to do this. So I can see the eye, and I have lots of options here to work with. I've got these different settings, which we're familiar with, the basic settings. And then I've got, of course, the navigation, the same menu that we just looked at. We've got, of course, the sun, the screenshot, changing the speed, whether we're on the ground, flying, we got VR, but then we've got this box, and this just shows materials. And so here are all the different types of materials that we can apply throughout our entire project, just forever, like as an override in this presenter view only. So if we're on default, obviously, because it's pulling every different material. In this case, I don't have that many. It's just mainly gray materials, but I've got a white roof and whatnot. But we want to change this, and we can see what happens. So we have foam. So it literally changes everything to this blue foam. And so from what I can tell, there's no real override to any of this information, other than, you can always leave presenter mode and then come back and then just decide whichever one of these materials you want applied in presenter mode. But like, you click foam, there's no settings that you can change. It's just, this is the look, which is kind of funny. I do enjoy that glass still appears to be glass. It's just, you've got that blue tint everywhere. So I can't see myself using this one as much, but for example, metal, that's kind of cool. If you want to give everything a metallic look, it's kind of fun, but it's more about consistency when it comes to this type of thing. So then we've got wood, and so we saw that, and so everything looks like wood, like a little wood model. But plaster, I think I'm going to end up using plaster the most, because I mean, sure, when you really zoom in, like, you can see that there is a level of plaster to it, but it appears to be more or less like black and white, or just white. Like, it's a solid, consistent color, which is really nice, and I like that a lot. Now, of course, we've also got the shaded outline, this is really cool. The fact that we're in 3D moving around, it looks like a drawing. That's cool. And it's not laggy, you don't have to reload it or anything. We have that, but then the final is essentially the same thing, but just flat and not shaded, which that's also cool if you want to look at things without shade and shadow. But I think shade and shadow do look kind of cool and do give you the type of depth that you might want to see. That's great. And it looks good. So those are the different options that we can use. And of course, we leave presenter, boom, we're back to default view. And none of my materials were actually changed, which is really nice. It's just used for the presenter view and overriding and just looking at it differently for specifically for presenter, which is cool. Really nice stuff. And again, when we look at the presenter cloud, like you're going to have all these different options within the presenter cloud that we're used to seeing, but now also that are new. We have all these different ways of displaying our presenter model. So you could send the model and the client or whoever can change the way it looks to get a different look and different idea of what's going on. Really cool. All right, so let's get back to all the new features. And then really from there, we're looking at phasing in presenter. So again, more presenter stuff, which is awesome. So you could literally set up phasing to be within the presenter now. Now, previously that was not an option. And so I've done previous videos on creating like building animations. Of course, we looked at phasing. Of course, we looked at presenter, but the fact that we can put phasing within the presenter is really cool stuff, because that's going to help quite a lot and give us more versatility in what we can do for presentations. Now, this is going to be particularly interesting, and I'm curious how this will work, but I tried to do a full building animation, and just getting the animations to work in unison and in order and in sequence is kind of difficult because of how we're limited with the animations. We can put a delay on them, but they're triggered whenever you go to render the video and all of this. So it's kind of confusing. So my hope is that we can see animations within this. So you, of course, can put animations within phases. That's, it's just an object. But the idea being that maybe I have each phase is the building, a piece of the building, and that's animated, as it's being brought down or as it's being built. And so that each phase is a portion of the building. And so it's this is in a way putting a bunch of different aspects of Twinmotion into one. So it's pretty advanced, but the fact that we can do this is awesome. So look for an update to that video, like full building animation in the future, because we can now put phasing within presenter, which is cool. At least I hope so. We'll see. But this is really cool nonetheless. And then finally, tint on vegetation. So, I mean, we've had tint on vegetation, but we have a bit more now, which is cool. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a tree, for example. It doesn't matter the tree, but just any tree here. So this is a good looking tree. There we go. So if I zoom in on the tree, it of course looks really nice, but when I click on the tree, we have a little more that we can work with. Of course, we've got the age, height, and growth, but we have the leaves tint and bark tint. So if you can get to customizing the look and tint of the tree a little more if you want. I mean, you can get a crazy looking weird tree if you want. You can have the bark in all these different colors. And I mean, that may not be the best example to see the bark of the tree, but here we go. Here's another tree. We can change this bark to something else. Maybe something a little more standouty. So there's blue. We can store that, of course, in all our colors, but there's literally a blue bark tree. And then we can change the color of the leaves. So, this is to a degree kind of ridiculous, but we have lots more versatility now. And of course, the fun part is that this would apply within our vegetation scatter, things like that. We can vegetation paint. We can put a bunch of these trees in here. And then from there, we can start painting all these trees around. And of course, this will apply because I can click on this tree, go to settings, and I can change the tint of all these trees just really quickly. And I know I don't have that many trees showing up, so I can go ahead and paint more on there. But as I do that, you can see all of those trees are now blue, which is really cool. Easy, really easy. And now I would use this more to get more of a particular look from a tree to show up in a season. Maybe you want it more green, or maybe you want it to be more of a fall color. That's about the only reason I'd probably change colors, unless I'm trying to get crazy and I'm making colored trees. But yeah, I don't think I am for now. Okay, so we looked at trees, really cool. So finally, the UI and UX improvements, not a ton here, but they definitely added some, and we could see that mainly from the presentation, like the presenter. And, of course, if I hide all of this, we can see that the UI itself is just slightly different in that we've got the presenter mode here. Not a lot has changed here. This is mostly the same. Very few UI changes here, but some of the icons are a bit different. We have the Quixel Mega Scans. Of course, we've got the heart option we can filter by, which is really great. And really, other than that, there's not a ton that I can think of really that is an updated UI, but nonetheless, it is updated and looks really nice. Of course, the main thing is the presenter and the presenter cloud. Of course, performance enhancements. Uh, that's always great. And what I do want to look at is the full release notes, which I have here. And I'm not going to read through all these, but most of these we've covered before. Of course, the Datasmith, Megascans, Presenter Cloud, lighting improvements. This is something. The differences in lighting may be noticeable when opening projects created in previous versions. So that's kind of something to be aware of, because a lot of really every project I have is created in a previous version. Artificial lights may appear much more intense. Adjustments to artificial lights may be required. So just keep that in mind. That's cool that they let us know that. Of course, new assets, height maps. We've added the ability to add a height map to standard materials in addition to normal maps. So this is clearly not within the new release notes like that on the main feature page, but it's here. So let's go ahead and look at that. I'm going to look at the standard materials. So let's go to just the materials here, and let's go and make a new one. And we've got a new one here. And if I go to my settings and my bump map, look at that. This is cool. You don't know how game changing this actually is, because not only is normal map cool and important and really nice and gives you a lot of depth, but the height map is going to give you that much more information as far as the depth and detail, and it's going to apply that much more. So I'm really excited to see this. And I guess the nice thing also is maybe you don't have a normal map, but you have a height map. I would apply, I mean, if you're familiar with bump maps in Revit, the height map here is the exact same thing. So it's, in a sense, you could use them both because they can layer on top of each other. They can enhance the material that much more, but not a ton. But the idea here mainly is that maybe I don't have a normal map, or maybe I don't have a height map, and I can use one or the other. So that is really cool. Whenever it comes to creating your own materials, we may not need to do that much of it anymore because of the Quixel Megascans library. But there will be a time where you need to create your own material, and I have a video on that, so check that out too. It's not difficult to do. But all this does is give us more versatility in creating materials. Really nice stuff. Okay, of course, we got the non-realistic rendering styles, really cool. The tint, improved performance, all this stuff, really nice. Adding the favorites, which is cool. It didn't show that in the updated features, but it's here obviously. Optimizing VR. This is it's a nice thing to see. When optimized VR quality is checked, the quality of is automatically lowered in VR to improve rendering performance. So maybe you have an older VR headset, or maybe your hardware isn't that great and it doesn't run VR that well. But what this is going to do is allow you to literally lower the quality of what you see in order to smooth the experience. So things render more quickly, but at a lower quality. And I think that sacrifice is worth it, because if you've ever been in VR and things are choppy, jumping around, you have like 10 frames a second, it's the worst experience. So you want to keep the frames per second without losing the quality ideally, but this is sacrificing the quality to keep the frames per second, which I think is a great way of keeping VR more of an option and to more people. Of course, the Twinmotion importer for Unreal Engine, that's currently in beta, but we saw another version of it. And then, new characters, this or that, whatever. There are a number of bug fixes, which is nice, none of which truly spoke to me. What I was hoping to see in here throughout the bug fixes and even the known bugs was the fact that sometimes when you click C in Twinmotion or Revit or another program and you already have that Twinmotion project open, it ends up overriding the materials or just removing the materials. That I know is a known bug. Maybe that's addressed now. Maybe we will never see that problem again, but we'll see. So really, that will do it, guys. You have a little bit longer to get Twinmotion for $500, and that's pretty good. So I'd highly recommend that. But besides that, that will do it for 2021.1. Really cool stuff. Again, there will be more videos coming out about the Datasmith. More new features, of course. I want to look through that, and of course the presenter, and looking at design options again. All of those. There's a lot that we are able to do now, at least in my mind, reading these features. So if you did learn something, please demolish that like button. It helps me out a lot. Also, just thank you very much for sticking around. Hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.